Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is an immensely popular jazz vocalist, recording artist, and cabaret and concert performer who's been taking the world by storm with her sultry and distinctive, emotionally expressive vocal stylings. Although early on, it looked like she'd be following in the footsteps of her famous opera singer father, Victor Braun, she eventually followed her heart and her musical instincts, and she's never looked back. After winning a local competition in 2001, she was catapulted to center stage as one of North America's leading jazz vocalists. She's performed throughout North America and Europe, captivating audiences with her very own unique singing style, which she calls cabarazz, reflecting a fusion of cabaret and jazz. In 2007, she was nominated for a MAC Award for Best Major Jazz Vocalist of the Year. So far, she's released 6 highly acclaimed albums: Delicious, The Rules of the Game, Live at the Metropolitan Room, Canadian Scenes 1, Moderne Frau, and now her fabulous brand new album entitled Night and Day, the Cole Porter Songbook. Here's a little taste to whet your appetite.
Get out of town before it's too late, my love. Here's hoping we meet now and then. It was great fun, but it was just one of those great. And once again our arms intertwined. Night and day.
Whether she's singing in English, French, Spanish, or German, or whether she's singing a classic from the Great American Songbook, or from European cabaret, or a song written by a contemporary songwriter, or one of her own compositions, our guest is a musical powerhouse and a masterful storyteller with an instantly recognizable voice that makes you want to crack open your favorite bottle of wine, sit back, and just lose yourself in the magic of her artistry. She's also the co-host of Classical Mornings, an immensely popular daily radio program on the New Classical FM. I'm delighted to welcome the incomparable Adi Braun to our show. Adi, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Me too. Adi, you're a classically trained opera singer and you've performed in a number of operas. Your father was the great Victor Braun. Your mother was an opera singer. Your brother is the famous baritone Russell Braun. Tell me why opera just didn't resonate with you sufficiently to pursue a career as an opera singer.
Good question. I'd like to say that's almost like Cinderella wearing the wrong shoe. You know, it sort of fits, like maybe half a size too small or too big. Ultimately, even though I think I had the voice for it, I didn't feel that comfortable, and I don't think I expressed myself that well. That's basically the long and short of it.
How did your family react to your decision to be a jazz singer?
Well, you know, my father was no longer alive when I made that switch. In fact, it was his death that brought about in me the desire to really be free and set myself free. My mother has been 100% supportive. So I'm very lucky.
I've been at least a dozen of your concerts, and I think your mom has been there every single time.
Yes, she is. She wouldn't miss it, you know.
Are there parts of your opera training that you utilize when you're singing now?
For sure. Another really great question. I'd say that you have a training that allows you to think about phrasing and expressing yourself and the words in a slightly different way than if I had come straight from jazz or from pop. There is maybe a theatricality that I still permit myself to use. Also, I think if you have a pretty sound technique, you can get through 3 sets of standards better than without good training.
Oh, that's for sure. Elizabeth Alfors of New York's Cabaret Scenes magazine described you as a tad Dinah Washington, a hint of Lena Horne, and the enveloping warmth of Doris Day. That's quite a compliment, don't you think?
Oh, it definitely is. And I have to say, Doris Day, I am smitten with Doris Day. There's a great vulnerability, a simplicity. She kind of makes me weak in my knees when I listen to her and watch her movies. And there's a sunshine, even when she sings the darkest of lyrics, there is always a ray of warmth and sunshine in it. So I take those compliments. I'm resting on the shoulders of giants for sure.
I love that you are influenced by Doris Day because she always made me feel like she was singing just to me. And when I listen to your albums, I really feel that you're just singing to me. You have that same intimacy.
Thank you for that. It's something that I think is paramount in a singer's journey is to forget about the fact that there can be this awkward separation in a jazz club, in a concert hall, no matter how big or small. There's this stage and then the other, the audience. And what we're trying to do as best as we can is to do away with that strange separation and make it feel as if we are all one. And I'm singing to each individual person.
Who were your greatest musical influences besides Doris Day?
Well, when I was a teenager, I had my first voice lesson, and without any training, it was recognizable as this could be an operatic voice to be trained. But in my heart of hearts, growing up in Germany, I fell in love with Barbara Streisand. And so I always thought, well, I know I'm in Germany, I'm a Canadian, but that's the kind of music I'd like to sing. So early on, Barbara Streisand, Stevie Wonder, I don't know whether you were asking about females or not. Judy Garland figures prominently, Lena Horne, Rosemary Clooney. Talk about someone who is so direct and so welcoming all of us to just be part of her immediate journey. There's just something so pure and so fabulous about Rosemary Clooney that is really hard to put into words.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of Ella in you. I think there's a little bit of Peggy Lee. You seem to have fused a lot of different vocal stylings within your own incorporation of your delivery.
Yeah, I mean, you've just named some very important, dare I say, sexy, provocative, also vulnerable artists. And I'd like to think that there's a little bit of mischief in me as well. So I think it's good, especially when you're singing something like Cole Porter. There, you have to have traces of vulnerability, of pathos, of cynicism, of good fun and mischief. I think it's great to cultivate all those qualities.
I've read reviews of your albums, Audi, and some of your concerts, and you're often referred to by critics as having an international approach to jazz. What do you think they mean by that?
Well, I mean, you can interpret that in a couple of ways, but I think because I have a little bit of a cabaret approach to some songs, maybe people think that is more European, hence the moniker of international, but I take it as a compliment. I think you know this, the music of Kurt Weill. I've sung several times at the Kurt Weill Festival in Germany, and that's a slightly different singing approach. So I think it encompasses a lot of almost like a fusion, hence cabarazz.
Now, before we talk about the new album, I want to ask you about some of your other albums, starting with Delicious and The Rules of the Game, your first two albums. How did you go about choosing the songs for those albums?
So Delicious came about in a very delicious kind of way. I entered a local small talent competition, the Ultimate Talent Contest in Toronto, and I won it. And I had just sung a big aria at a big travel convention. And then I sang just in front of 50 people, Miss Seeley's Blues, and I won that competition. I instantly felt I was at home. Part of the prize was to do a demo recording with the creme de la creme of musicians of Canada, Doug Riley, Steve Wallace, and Terry Clark. And when I finished the demo recording, I sat together with Doug Riley and I said, I have this dream. I would like to make my first CD. Would you produce it for me? And he said, yes. And so then it was a collaborative effort of speaking with, I'm talking about the great, great pianist and composer, Doug Riley. And he, I'd sent him some songs and he said, yes, that would make for a great, delicious first album where you can show, when you do your first album, I think you want to show as many facets of yourself as possible without being ridiculous. But it was a collaborative effort that led to the choice of all the songs.
And then Rules of the Game, how did you choose those songs?
So the choice came, this is interesting again, a great friend of mine and someone I admire very much. She's been on your show as well as Anne Hampton Calloway. And I loved an album that she had made called Slow. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to actually produce an album, to record a CD that had sort of more of a relaxed, sultry, also thinking of Lazy Afternoon, that great Streisand album, that told the story of love in a slightly different, more sort of hazy, lazy, sensuous approach. And that's how I chose those songs.
Your live album from the Metropolitan Room really shows off your versatility and your stage persona as a cabaret chanteuse. Do you sing differently on the stage than you do in the recording studio?
Yes, to a certain degree you do. Because when you have, first of all, there's no audience in the recording studio, right? And when you're singing with a $50,000 mic, it captures all particles of your voice. So sometimes less is more in the studio, but when you're in a club situation, sometimes more is more. You've got the audience there, you're doing a dialogue. It becomes a little bit more of a back and forth. Audiences might call out something, or you might have a dialogue with somebody. So I think I probably, yeah, I definitely sing slightly differently in a live setting, because there's that, what do you call it? The adrenaline is slightly different in a club. In the recording studio, you think, wow, this is going to be captured, every breath, every snuffle, everything. So you sometimes have to scale back, and then it takes a skilled engineer to say, okay, now we need a little bit more, right? So it's something that I'm still learning, that balancing. Now I'm in the studio, now I'm live.
Well, I guess when you're making the albums, you're concentrating on vocal technique and delivery. And when you're on the stage, you're also concentrating on being an entertainer.
For sure. But then you have to remember, in the recording studio, you don't want to appear flat either. So sometimes an engineer will say, tell me the story. Now tell me the story. But if I can mention something really interesting about the recording of this particular album, I recorded with world-renowned engineer John Beadle Bailey, who was Juno and Grammy decorated. And he told me something that was earth-shattering to me. Now, most singers, when you have a bigger phrase, the tendency is to back up from the mic, to not make it explode. And he said to me, don't do that, because your neck muscles are going to get all tight. And I said, okay, do you have a better idea? And he said, yes. When you sing your next big phrase into that microphone, as you sing it, I want you to turn 90-degree angle and sing it full voice to the corner, because this microphone will catch it. And I thought, can I do it? And I took a couple of tries at it, and it was liberating because I didn't have to really hold back. He allowed me to give my full voice to the corner, and it was captured. But it takes a great engineer to tell you that.
And that's really fascinating. That's something that those of us listening don't know. We don't even imagine where you're positioned when you're singing these big notes.
Exactly, exactly.
You released a very special album in 2017 called Moderne Frau, which is your tribute to the cabaret days of the Weimar Republic in Germany. You wrote several songs for that album, including the title track, as well as a lovely tribute to Josephine Baker. You even wrote a song that you sang in German called Gestern, about the forbidden love in Nazi Germany between a Jewish woman and a non-Jewish woman. What made you write that song, Adi?
So at the time when I first started the CD, believe it or not, I was enrolled in the doctoral program at the Faculty of Music. And my area of study were the performance practices of female cabaret artists during the Weimar period. I never finished the doctorate because it was not a great fit for my personal life, but it did inspire me to dig really deep. And I had this dream, a literal dream, as I was doing my research. And a couple of these forgotten voices, Trude Hesterberg, Claire Waldorf, they came to me in a dream and they said to me, vergesst uns nicht, don't forget us. And so I did more and more research, and I came upon this story, which actually was made into a movie called Aimé and Jaguar, a love story of these two women that you actually mentioned, and Lily Wust and Felice Schragenheim. And I was so moved by their impossible story that I wanted to write a song called Gestern, which means yesterday our love was possible, today it no longer is.
I really hope that our viewers, if you have not got the Moderne Frau album by Adi Braun, do get it. You will be blown away. It's quite magnificent. Okay, let's talk about your wonderful new album of Cole Porter standards. It's called Night and Day, the Cole Porter Songbook. As you know, my producer Steve and I were at your big CD launch concert event at Lulu Lounge in Toronto. And if the audience's reaction that night is any indication, I think you've got a major hit album on your hands. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It really is a dream come true. And it was 2 years in the making because the scope of it, we had 17 musicians on the album. And ultimately, it was my arranger, Don Breithaupt, also scored it for orchestra. So we recorded in little segments, 3 songs, 4 songs, 3 songs, because these songs had to be very carefully, lovingly arranged. And I feel that Don Breithaupt must have looked into my heart. I've worked with him before. He's a phenomenal songwriter. And I really felt it was a match made in heaven, and then put together all these musicians. It really was a dream come true. Plus, I'm in love with Cole Porter.
Well, that was going to be my next question. And it's an obvious question. Why Cole Porter?
I like to say, why not? I realize that's a dumb sort of answer. However, I'm blown away by the fact that here we have a composer who wrote the lyrics and composed the music. If he were alive today, I'd like to ask him what came first, the words or the music. Sadly, he is not, and so we can only guess. But his songs are full of complexities of emotions. You've got passion, you have some cynicism, sarcasm, vulnerability, a great sense of humor. And when you think about the life he led, again, he's not here, we can't ask him. He lived publicly as a closeted gay man. Privately, he did not. What he did privately, however, is he found this remarkable woman, Linda Lee, and they must have had just a great understanding and an acceptance of each other. It was absolutely true love. I don't think it needs to be classified. We can't look into anybody's private life, but I am deeply moved by the fact that he was able to live as a gay man, yet have this fabulous woman in his life. I mean, that's just, you can't put a word on that. And so I was deeply moved by the story. Then I saw the movie De Lovely. I've seen it a couple of times, and Kevin Kline's performance is devastatingly beautiful. Have you seen it?
Oh, yes, it's fabulous.
Yeah. So Kevin Kline's performance of one particular song, In the Still of the Night, where he's barely singing and you almost feel embarrassed to be there because he's singing so much to you, and it's so vulnerable. That was my inspiration for that song and for many of the songs on the album.
How did you go about choosing the songs for the album? I mean, the portfolio, the inventory of Cole Porter songs is massive, and every one of them is a masterpiece.
Every single one is. I would record things at home. First of all, Don and I made a list. I sent it to Don. He wrote me back his favorites. Then I would record myself in a fashion of how I would maybe see the arrangement. And then he would say, oh, I get you. Let me get back to you in a week or two with what I have come up with. And so I wanted to see myself represented in that massive songbook, that plethora, that cornucopia of wealth of Cole Porter's. And I thought, it's impossible, but let me pick 10 songs that I think represent me as an artist and also Cole Porter's brilliant genius.
When you go about recording a classic song, Audi, that's been recorded by all the great vocalists, from Ella to Judy to Sinatra, Doris Day, all the others, how do you strike a balance between honoring the intentions of the songwriter and the legacy of the song, but still making the song distinctly your own?
Tricky question, good question. Obviously, I listen to a lot of the greats and get my inspirations from them. Sometimes it also serves to tell you, I love it, but that's not how I want to do it. Ultimately, it doesn't resonate with your skin. Does your heart dance? Let me come up with an arrangement that makes me feel like I'm dancing on air. I think of Fred Astaire, whom I admire so much, and you have to think of Fred Astaire when you think of Cole Porter as well. Dancing on air, really, that's what I wanted to achieve with these songs, that it didn't feel like it was a labor as much as it was just a pleasure and a dance.
Well, not only that, I mean, it is all those things, but the orchestrations are all unique. We've never heard this before.
No, we haven't. They are unique, and they are uniquely Canadian. And I think we're very proud. I can say that I'm very proud, and Don is very proud. Alma Records is very proud of this as well. I feel that we have given a fresh insight into a glimpse into the Cole Porter Songbook from our hearts to your hearts.
Is this album possibly the beginning of a series of songbook albums dedicated to the great American songwriters like maybe Gershwin or Irving Berlin or Harold Arlen?
Well, you never know. Stay tuned. We have discussed something like that. I mean, yeah, it is entirely possible. Whether one would want to put out another Cole Porter album, probably not. Although, as you say, there are hundreds of songs to choose from. I think he wrote just about as many songs as Franz Schubert did, like 500 or 600. So stay tuned.
Have you seen an evolution in the jazz genre over the years that you've been performing?
Yes, there is quite an interesting evolution happening, and that is that there is fusion evolution. I think, when you ask people, what does jazz mean? You can have many different answers, but jazz seems to me a playground of possibilities. And the artists that are coming out right now have come from other genres or subgenres, whether it's pop, classic, hip hop, rock. There's something about jazz that gives you the license to express yourself that almost no other genre does. And I think that we are on the threshold of an even greater widening of what that word could possibly mean in terms of its expression.
So tell me about Adi Braun, the songwriter. My favorite of all your original songs, I think you know this, is Ocean Eyes from your Canadian Scenes album. What drives your creativity as a songwriter?
So thank you for asking that question. I have actually not written a song in a little while because my focus was on Cole Porter. I don't have like my great inspiration as a songwriter is Shirley Eichhardt. Not only as a vocalist, but as a songwriter, I think she is unsurpassed. And when I've talked to Shirley about how she goes about writing songs, sometimes it's everyday moments, everyday life moments, something that seems almost insignificant that drives me. Sometimes there could be a historic event or something that's happened in my own life or worldwide that would give rise to a song, such as Gestern, when you think about the atrocities that war has brought about in terms of separating people and making love impossible. So, but you have to be really attuned to or in tune with yourself and in tune with what's going on outside. And in our very noisy world, sometimes it's really hard to do.
So now I can ask you, what comes first for you, the words or the music?
Wow, that's really tricky. Both sometimes. There's an opera by Richard Strauss, and it's called Capriccio, and it's exactly about that duality. There's a composer and there's a poet, and the Italian phrase is dopo le parole prima la musica, which means first the words then the music, and the composer answers prima la musica dopo le parole, right? I think I just said that wrong. It was the wrong way around, but you get the drift. To me, it almost happens symbiotically. I would say the music is perhaps a little bit more prevalent because I often sit at the piano and doodle and play a chord. Sometimes literally my hands will slip to something I didn't intend to play, and then I'll go, oh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder what words would go with that. So I would say for me, it's probably slightly early. The music comes a little bit before the words.
Are you hoping to put out an album of all original material one day?
I'm not sure. I have that EP that we talked about, Canadian Scenes. There would be a lot of work involved and a lot of discipline because let me tell you, to be a gifted writer, it's not just enough to hone that gift. You have to practice daily and have little sessions with yourself. And in a time where you're actually trying to be a great vocalist and dealing with other composers and interpreting those, it would be a challenge. And let me not say no to that challenge.
Well, your friend Anne Hampton Calloway eventually did it. She put out an album of all original material. So I have a feeling that you might be next.
Well, what do they say? From your lips to God's ears?
Absolutely. If you were to record a duets album, who would you like to sing with?
Ooh, that's going to be a really hard one. I would say 4 albums with many different vocalists. It's too bad that the great Shirley Eichhardt is no longer with us because I would have loved to have sung with her. I would love to. I think you were at a concert where I sang with the great Québécois chanteuse André Bernard.
I was.
I thought our voices blended really, really well together because she has such a nice dark color. It would be great to sing with her. It would be fun to sing with Anne. There's some guys that I would love to sing with. You know, Matt Dusk is a great Canadian singer. There's so many. That would be a conversation for maybe another interview. But yeah, I think it would be nice to team up with a male voice.
Yes,
So if you have any suggestions, send them to me.
I'd love you to sing with John Legend. I would love you to sing with Paul Anka because he's still singing really well. I would love to hear you sing with Matt Dusk and Michael Bublé.
Ah,
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a list.
let's make a list and get that happening.
Now, Audi, when I listen to your albums in sequential order, starting with Delicious and moving all the way to the newest one, I can sense an evolution in your voice and in your vocal interpretations. There's a kind of intimate, breathy, sometimes even whispered quality in your voice in some of the songs on this new album. Where did that come from?
Yeah, you know, when I first started out, I was still very much aware that I came from a classical background, you know, where singing off the voice is like a no-no, you know, everything has to be well supported and all that jazz. It takes a lot of courage to get to that point where you're thinking about the color and the intensity of a word, and you think, forget about whether this is, you know, a fully supported sound or anything like that. What you want to support is the emotion. And it's taken a couple of years for me to get to that point where I'm thinking, this is a color, the voice in here, it's like a color box. It's like a box of paints, jars of paints. Let's mix up some things and see what comes out that has not come out before, so that we're not just talking only primary colors, but we want to have some shades. It's all about shadings. And that's, I'm very happy to have arrived at this point and eager to see where it's going to take me next.
Yes, because I think your voice has become more nuanced over the years. I definitely get what you're saying, that it's like you have this toolbox of different tones, of different volumes, of different intensity that suit the song you're singing. And it's really a pleasure to listen to you over the years and see this growth.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you see that. It's very validating for me. And it's not that I thought intentionally, no, I have to progress as a singer. It's something that gently happens over time. I like to think of myself as a bit of a late bloomer, but you know, blooms take time to unfold. And so I'm just very happy and in awe of the world around me that inspires me daily to see what comes up next for me as an artist, and how do all these things that are happening around us affect me as an artist.
Well, if this latest album is any indication, my dear, you're not just blooming, you're blossoming. Now,
Thank you so much for that.
I've had a lot of music artists come on the show and tell me that the music business has changed in the last, let's say, decade, primarily because of streaming. Now, you've just signed with a record company at a time when most music artists are going the independent route. Why?
Mm. Well, I think that when you sign with a label as reputable as Alma Records, it does have some clout. It does have some clout, and it gives more, I don't know whether the word credence is the right word. I've been an independent artist for so many years, and I started to sing jazz a little later in life, maybe a lot later than some other people. So at this point, to have a major record label behind you, I think is a good thing.
Well, now that you're with a prestigious record label, I have an idea for your next album. You want to hear it?
Of course.
Well, next year will be the 100th birthday of Henry Mancini, and we expect to have his daughter Monica on our show to promote a very special event. I'd love to see you record an album of his songs like Moon River, The Days of Wine and Roses, Two for the Road, so many others. What do you think?
Hang on, I'm taking notes. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. You know, on the radio show that I host, we often do play, you know, the Breakfast at Tiffany's music. He's a gorgeous composer, a gorgeous orchestrator, also conducted his own orchestra. So that's a great idea, Harvey.
I'm going to work on it. Now, tell me, since you mentioned the radio show, how are you enjoying this latest gig as a radio star?
Well, I love it. It came sort of out of the blue. I was asked to audition because the other host had retired. And, in a sense, it is performing. It's just another realm of performing. And it's a great feeling to make people, this is early, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. A lot of people are up to put bounce in their day is a very special feeling. It's a classical channel, but we also play jazz and world music. So I'm very lucky. And it's wonderful to sort of get into people's homes or in their cars and to make their day a little bit more special.
I love it. I think it's a great opportunity for you to be present in a different dimension, but it also gives you a chance to promote your music too, I hope.
Yes, absolutely, it does. I'm not shying away from that. And my station has been extremely supportive of that. So I'm very grateful once again for that.
I want to tell our viewers that you can learn more about Adi Braun, see her concert schedule, and buy her music by going to her official website, audibraun.com, which you can see on your screen now. And you can follow her on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe to her YouTube channel, which is also showing on your screen now. So, Audi, do you have any upcoming concerts that you'd like to mention?
I do. They're all in Ontario right now. I've got something in the beautiful area of Acton, which is just northwest of Toronto. So I'm singing there October 21st. Then I'm singing at the Leah Poslan's Theatre, at the JCC at a wonderful new theatre. And lastly, at the Rose Theatre in Brampton on December the 14th. And that is presenting my show noir, as well as some Cole Porter music, and then some juicy things lined up for the new year.
Well, everyone can follow your concert schedule by going to the website. So please don't forget to do that to find out when Adi Braun will be appearing in your area. Well, Adi, as you know, I've been one of your biggest fans for many years. It's been such a pleasure having you on our show today. Congratulations on the new album. I wish you the best of luck with it. And thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show.
Listen, Harvey, this also has been a dream come true, to sit with you in a totally relaxed environment with superb questions that really are very thoughtful. And I'm now thinking about a lot of things that you asked me about. So from my heart, thank you so much.
And believe me, it was my great pleasure. Our guest has been jazz vocalist extraordinaire, Adi Braun, whose new album, Night and Day, The Cole Porter Songbook, is now available on every major music streaming platform. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my director of programming, Deborah Batsifin, my production assistant, Rosa Puzo, my PR director, Laurie Towers, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.